Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So I hope you guys are ready for some pure, uncut, raw cringe, because that's what you're going to get with today's video. So it's no secret that the entertainment industry loves to capitalize on your nostalgia. Instead of creating new shows and new franchises, they like to take existing ones that were successful a decade or two ago and then reboot them or make live action versions of them, and they typically are very bad and are simply there for a cash grab. And the Powerpuff Girls is a franchise that is not a stranger to that concept. We've seen some reboots of the cartoon that were absolute cringe-inducing, and now we have a look here at the live action reboot of this that almost came to fruition. This was a project that was canceled some years ago, and thank God it was. This was an absolute disaster of an idea, and even the script for this was leaked a few years ago, and it's just as bad as you might have thought, and we'll look at some examples from the script in a little bit. But the most recent news is that over the past 24 hours, there have been several leaks of the official trailer that was made for this live action reboot, and it is as bad as you might have expected, or maybe even worse. And right now, Warner Bros. Is going around and basically copyright striking and claiming anything they can that's sharing the actual trailer itself, which is about 3.5 minutes. And today I'm going to describe what's in that trailer, otherwise I will get nuked by Warner Bros. But anyways, we're going to see here that we really dodged a bullet. The world dodged a bullet with this series. Thank God it was canceled. It is the peak of woke cringe entertainment, and let's just jump right into it. So in the trailer, I have a transcribed list here. I went through the trailer and described everything here, and I'm just going to give you a sense of what we were dealing with. So you can see the cast here, right? That did not change. So it opens with Black Professor Utonium. Yes, they race swapped Professor Utonium for some reason. So it begins with Black Professor creating the Powerpuff Girls, instead of sugar, spice, and everything nice, it was diversity, equity, and inclusion in this case. But anyways, it then shows this very bizarre series of shots involving what is supposed to be the young Powerpuff Girls, like 6, 7 years old, right? And what's very strange about it is that we have these 3 actresses represented as children, and for some reason, Blossom is Asian as a child. I don't know what they were thinking with that, but she goes from an Asian child to a white adult. She literally goes through metamorphosis. It's really, really bizarre. But then they go through a series of various examples of them protecting and saving Townsville. And then they say, the narrator says, as their fame grew, so did their merch, endorsements, and even a cartoon. So in this sort of lore here, the cartoon is based off of these real Powerpuff Girls that are out in the world. And we'll talk about the cartoon that exists in this franchise in just a second. It's a disaster. But we are then introduced to Mojo and Jojo, his son. And of course, the villain Mojo here, at least at the beginning of this trailer, is an old white guy. Because of course, an old white guy is the representation of a villainous monkey from the cartoon. But anyways, then the townspeople get mad for reasons that you're not really sure of at the time, but eventually we'll figure it out later in the trailer. Now we do a fast forward. Now the Powerpuff Girls are grown up. They are adults. And we're introduced to these characters one by one, and it is just fantastic. So they begin with Blossom, okay? And they describe her as constantly stressed. And then to basically demonstrate that, she has a very short and bizarre line about being confused about daylight savings time. That's the example of her being constantly stressed out, I guess. I don't know. But then we're introduced to our wonderful queen here, Buttercup. So as you can tell, race swap again for this character, just like the professor, whatever, okay, that's the thing. And unsurprisingly, I guess, she's described as constantly rebellious, and then she delivers a line that is supposed to elicit that, and the line goes like this, and I quote, "I'm not wearing that dress anymore. It's gender normative and ass ugly." Ah, great. Zoomer and woke terminology, which honestly is not too surprising given the time this live action reboot was developed. It was like 2020, 2021. So that was like peak cancel culture when everyone was going woke left and right. And yeah, not too surprised by that. But then we're introduced to Bubbles, which was always my favorite character growing up. I always like the characters that are supposed to be the annoying characters. Explain why that is, I don't know. But Bubbles was my favorite character in the show growing up. And they butchered her terribly. So Bubbles is described simply as constantly drinking. And then she's like puking because she's drunk. That's it. That's the introduction to Bubbles. She's not only dumb in this version, she's also an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic. Very cool. Then we get a sequence of them flying away. And it is so bad, ladies and gentlemen. It literally looks like some of your buddies in middle school who are trying to make a superhero film in their backyard using a green screen their mom bought for them. And it's just like terrible. Like they're literally standing still while they're flying, but the buildings are moving. You can tell they're literally standing still in front of the green screen. It's embarrassing. But then while they're doing all of that, there is some fatal error the narrator describes. And it's the fact that Mojo Jojo was game-ended. And apparently their error, the Powerpuff Girls did, cost Mojo his life. And then I guess everyone was mad at them for that. For some reason. Then they describe the reaction to all of that by the Powerpuff Girls. So Blossom runs away for some reason. Then Bubbles goes to Hollywood Boulevard where she looks like a homeless crackhead. And that's pretty much it. Then we get Buttercup's reaction to all this where she becomes, as they describe, a real hero, a firefighter. So you have the other characters here. Bubbles becomes like a failed actress or something in Hollywood, living on the streets. Then you have Blossom just running away. But then you have the stunning and brave Buttercup, who becomes a real hero. How predictable, ladies and gentlemen. But then it cuts again. We're jumping again in the temporal space of this story. 7 years later now, they're returning to Townsville for reasons not described. But Buttercup is asked by a reporter if the Powerpuff Girls are re-teaming, where she says, and I quote, "Hell no, I am never caping for Townsville again." Then the black professor is talking with them at the table, and he's saying the 3Bs back in Townsville, and says, "The darkness is returning." And then Blossom passes out, hearing that information. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny or what, but it was weird. Then we're cut to JoJo, who's now an adult, and he wants to game end the professor with the help of what appears to be Princess Morbucks, you know, the like little villain girl from the cartoon. And his plan, I guess, is to get revenge. You know, the Powerpuff Girls game ended his father, and now he's going to do the same to them. And Buttercup then is approached with this idea of getting back together again. And this is what she says, and I quote directly, "It was fun when we were fighting baddies, but it changed. Not to mention that cartoon that completely whitewashed us." Yes, I don't know if this is basically their realm, their own separate example of what the cartoon is, or they're talking about the real cartoon, but they're saying it was whitewashed, which is just stunning and brave and more predictable woke garbage from this series. And I just thought that quote was very interesting. Then we have Princess Morbucks here, who is now with JoJo, who's like hanging around with this kid for some reason. And their goal of this new plan, she says, is to crawl into people's brains and then turn their aggro meter up to 10. Some more nice Zoomer language right there. Then there's a bunch of riots starting, and then Black Professor is standing on top of a building saying, "Destroy Townsville and make them pay." And the Powerpuff Girls see this on TV, and they say, oh, he must be being set up right now. And then JoJo blames Black Professor for everything that's going on. Clearly it was some sort of a setup. Then Bubbles, reacting to some of this, says, and I quote, "All possessed like a gathering of juggalos." And then she says, I'm down with the clowns, which is a strange, insane clown posse reference in what would have been 2021. Interesting. But then there's another scene right after that where Blossom smacks her dad while wearing rainbow cuffs. Probably something going on there with some virtue signaling, I'm sure. But then we get an amazing montage. They have like this 30-second montage with the worst CGI you'll ever see, with Zoomer music blasting over it. And then, at that point, now they're loved again by the Townsville people. Somehow. I guess they defeated JoJo. But then that becomes very confusing because JoJo is then interacting with Blossom and then apologizes to Blossom about accusing Black Professor of being a terrorist. And then she's like, okay, cool, we're even. Oh, wait, no, we're not actually even. And then JoJo looks at her and gives her like a weird thumbs up. End scene. That's it. Very strange stuff. I hope I gave some good visuals for you guys with this description, but it's just as cringe as I described. It was very, very bizarre, and it seems like a parody at this point, like an intentional parody. I don't even think a parody could do the job that this trailer did. And there's still some examples of this trailer up on various social media platforms, but it seems like Warner Bros. Is not having it, and I think that's very ironic, right? They're very quickly moving to shut this down, even though this series is canned. It's not coming back, but they're still filing copyright takedowns of everyone posting this because it just makes them look really dumb, because this was an absolute disaster of a project. You can see the main leaks here. This account got 74,000 likes and 11 million views sharing the trailer, and it's been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner, which is Warner Bros. And then the example of this that was posted onto YouTube was also taken down, and it got over 200,000 views in only 15 hours. People were clowning on this. People are flabbergasted at how bad all of this is. Now, like I said earlier, this isn't exactly anything new, right? This series was known, and there were some small tidbits here and there about what this was going to be like, but we also got something that was very strange, and that was the script. Someone leaked a good portion of the script, and what we saw in the trailer is pretty faithful to it, but there's also some other examples people have posted that are just mind-boggling. I'm going to read a few pieces of dialogue here, and like this user points out, someone was paid to write this, okay? Bubbles says, Blossom's fine. I saw her on Insta that she has a boyfriend. I saw on her LinkedIn that she got promoted. And I saw on Facebook that she still talks to Grandpa despite their political differences. Buttercup, coming back here is probably triggering for her. Bubbles, why? Because she's the one who killed Mojo? I mean, moveon.org. Buttercup, Bloss, wake up, or we'll leak your nudes everywhere. Off Bubbles' confusion, that worked on you once. That's weird. So they're all like PC up here, and then down here they're like joking about revenge poontang. Okay. Here's this, the narrator saying, Bubbles went to Hollywood, hoping to capitalize on her childhood fame. Many such cases. Narrator continued. After 2 stints in rehab and 3 failed reality show pilots, she had pivoted to direct sales. Okay. Bubbles, right here, saying, I always believed in you and defended you, Dad, even when you sold away our likeness to that cartoon, which, by the way, totally whitewashed us. Even then, I had your back. I always had a smile on my face. I never broke character, even though there was so much more to me. I always put family and the team first, no matter what. What a girl boss, standing up to that evil professor. But I guess this never came through because, well, this show was canned, and we only got a few of these lines that presented themselves in the trailer, and they were pretty accurate. There were some small changes, but overall, that's what we were dealing with. This absolute slop of a trailer. And like I said, the world dodged a bullet with this one, okay? This would have been an absolute disaster. But you know what? If they got the archives, if they got the shooting done for this, I would love for them to bring it back. You know, can you imagine, like, cringe watching this, just watching it to have a good time watching something that's so bad it's good. I would love that, personally. I mean, at this point, it's been leaked in many different ways, the trailer and the script, so I'd welcome it back, absolutely no problem at all. But as I said, Warner Bros. Is fuming about this. They're taking down anyone who's posting the trailer, and we'll see with this video because who knows how angry they are. Technically, what I'm doing is totally protected. There's nothing to copyright here. In fact, they'd be copywriting my words. I'm not showing anything that I'm not allowed to, but let's see if Warner Bros. Wants to do a very corporate thing in the entertainment industry, and that is file false copyright takedowns on videos that are critical of them. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but like I said, we'll just have to see how the cards play out here. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.